So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on from which place have you logged in for today's webinar. Uh, if you are looking for tracking member management with scoring and dashboards, you are at the right place. So, this webinar is all about how you can actually engage your members through a member engagement program, how you can track them with providing different scores, and how you can actually view the results of your member engagement through various dashboards and reports. So before we start on, I just want to take a quick poll about a couple of things. So let me launch this poll. So just wanted to understand how many of you are actually already doing member engagement activities and how many of you are actually building dashboards to analyze member engagement. Okay, I could see that a lot of people are actually doing member engagement activities, which is a good thing to know. And there are few who are actually building dashboards to analytics to analyze member engagement. Okay, so I'll close this poll now. So who have just joined, we are into the webinar, which will talk about member engagement and how you can actually track your member engagement. So we will talk about different mechanisms to track your member engagement and simple techniques that you can use in your system for different management activities, and how you can actually encash those activities to understand your members and maybe frame your future marketing strategies and think about alternatives which can actually help you uh, simplify your member engagement process. So let's get started. So what is member engagement? Okay. As many of you are already doing member engagement, uh, member engagement is engaging the members to do something in your system, right? So every time you are engaging a member of your system, whether you engage him in sharing a social post, or you engage him becoming a community member, or you engage him giving a donation to your organization or association, right? Any way that you can think of engaging your members with the activity that you are doing is called member engagement. I just want to point out here that member engagement is very, very different from customer support and customer servicing. Member engagement is not at all customer support or customer servicing. In customer support, you are actually in a reactive mode where you solve the problems of your members as and when they arise. So they may be having problems in accessing your system. They may be having problems in some payments they might have done, and you actually help them out resolve the problems. So you are in a reactive mode where member approaches you first, and then you resolve their issue. What member engagement is more of a proactive term, where you yourself design certain activities where the members can participate so that they become active participants in your association management system or in any community portal or any social cause that you are doing. So member engagement is basically involving your members proactively so that they get engaged, and if they are engaged and they find your system useful, you can actually better understand what they need, how you can actually plan your marketing strategies better, and what changes you can do in your system. Now, it's simple to say that you should engage your members, but how do you actually do that? And what is the mechanism to actually know whether your members are engaged or not? All right, because there should be something in your system that shows you that there are 100 members, out of which two are super engaged. There are around 10 who are like medium engaged. Then there are around 50 or 60 who are really not doing anything in the system and they're not engaged, and you should focus more energy on engaging those members. But how do you know that? So you can only know that when you have that kind of data or a scoring mechanism where you can see how members are actually participating in the different activities that you have opened for them. So what is scoring? So when a contact or your member engages with the association, the system automatically creates an engagement activity and allocates a score based on the activity type. Now, what those activity types can be? So it can be something which you have posted on the forum and he comments on that, or he likes that, or he volunteers for maybe doing an event, or maybe going for a charity event. So there can be numerous activities which we'll talk about in the later slides that can help your members uh, engage, and you can actually score them and see like what is the level of member engagement they have with you. So let's move forward. So this is how you can actually visualize your engagement scoring, right? So there are three parameters to it: breadth, depth, and loyalty. Now, what do you mean by breadth? Breadth is how many ways has a contact engaged with your association. So let's take an example of Max. Max joins your associations committee. He's attending events. So joining your association committee is one thing, one activity that he has done. If he is attending events, that is another activity towards member engagement. Third activity he does is he makes a donation to your association. Fourth is he's actually volunteering for different camps that you organize. So if you see Max involvement, you can determine the breadth of his engagement because he is engaged in more than one ways, right? So breadth is about how many ways your members are engaged with your association. So it can be one way, it can be two, it can vary up till the number of activities that you have defined for your member engagement activities. So here, Max has done 4 activities and he is involved in 4 ways with your association. Now, what is depth, right? Now, Max is involved with 4 activities, but these activities are repetitive, right? So he may join different committees. So if he says, so we can put a number to the number of ways he has joined, right? So if he has joined one committee, it's like he has a score of 1. How many is he attending one event, or is he attending multiple events in a year? So if he has attended 4 events, that tells you the depth of his engagement, because he's not just attending one event for the sake of attending an event. He's actually very proactive and attending a lot of events that you are holding within a year. He has not donated once, he has donated 3 times, and he has volunteered in 2 camps. So you put a number on the number of ways he's engaging with you, right? How many times he's engaging. That gives you the depth of his engagement with your association. So, and then what is loyalty? Loyalty is how frequently is he doing this activity? Is it a one-time activity, or he's doing it yearly, quarterly, or maybe every month? So you may have a member who is very proactive, who is joining every event of yours. He is attending all the webinars. He's liking all your community pages. He's actively participating throughout the year in camps, right? So that gives a factor of loyalty to him. So these are the 3 parameters: breadth, depth, and loyalty, with which we determine the engagement scoring a member has. We will go in more detail in the next few slides on how we can actually do engagement scoring. Now, before we jump to how we do engagement scoring, it's very important that you determine the engagement indicators for your association. What do you mean by engagement indicators? Engagement indicators are the number of gates or paths that are open to your members to associate with your association, right? So indicators can be events that you hold throughout the year, and event attendance on who is attending, how many are attending is one of the indicators that you can take. Active member is one who is attending a lot of events. Passive member is someone who is not attending any event, right? So an event attendance is one of the parameters or an indicator you can take for engagement. Similarly, you can check the community subscriptions you have. Active members will have more subscriptions. Your less active members will have less subscriptions. So community subscriptions can be one of your engagement indicators. Then you may have your association products that are on purchase on your AMS system or any other system. So products purchased or services offered is one of the engagement indicators that you can use. Then how many volunteers are actually attending as volunteers for your campaigns? That is one of the indicators that you can take. Committee participation is one of the indicators. Then making donations to your foundation, that can be an engagement indicator. Community posts and login on how many times a user is actually updating and logging into your campaigns. So you can have all of these parameters, or you can have more event indicators depending on what your association does and how it actually wants to engage with the members. So this is example of the number of ways a member can engage with an association. You can have more ways. You can pick that we just have 4 or 5 ways that you want to do, but you should be very clear on the terms of indicators and engagement indicators that you have for your association. Now, what do we do with these engagement indicators, right? These indicators should have some significance once we have defined it. So to help you with your scoring, right, you can assign a weightage to each of your indicators, right? So if you can see, we have committee participation for which weightage is 10, right? So it means that if one of your members is become a part of your committee, you assign him a weight of 10 or give him a score of 10, right? Similarly, for every event attended, you give him a weightage of 7.5. For community subscriptions, you give him, for every subscription on a community, you give him a point score of 10. Every product purchased, you give him a score of 5. Community post, you give him a 0.2. Recent logins, 1. Number of donations, 1. And similarly, for every time he's attending and volunteering for any event, you can give him a score of 0.25. Now, these weightage can depend upon you, right? This is just an example on what weightages can give you, and it actually depends on your engagement indicators. Now, let's take an example on how you can actually use the previous engagement indicators and the weightage for those engagement indicators to get a score, right? So, as an example, Alexis is scrolling through your website and she is offered to join a committee, right? So what she does is she becomes a committee member. Now, if you see in the previous slide, for every committee participation, right, we have a weightage of 10, right? So she gets a score of 10 for participation. You give her 10 points in your system. Now she goes through the association's community page and shares a post, right, which fetches her 2 more points because she has shared a post. Then she spots an event that is happening, and it seems that she's interested in attending it, and she registers for that event. So she receives a score of 7.5 for event attendance. Uh, Later, she realizes that she should share that event to the on community page. So we have got a weightage of 2. So she receives a score of 2 for sharing a post on community page. Similarly, on adding up, right, what happens is you get a score for Alexis. So she scored 10 for becoming a committee member, and she scored 2 for sharing a post. She receives 7.5 for attending an event and registering an event, and she receives a score of 2 for sharing that post of event, right? So her total score becomes 10 plus 2 plus 7.5 plus 2, which is 21.5. So this gives you a score, and this score will keep on adding as she will do more activities uh, in your system, right? So if she attends another event, she will get another 7.5 points. She shares another post, she will get another 2, and these points get accumulated in the system, right? So the more points a member has, this means that he's engaged more with your association and he's a loyal member, right? So there are chances that he's happy with what he's getting out of your system, what he's getting out of the cause that he has registered with your association. So you can determine that he's a happy member, and there are 100% chances that they will renew the membership without any effort. So this is how scoring is done. It's very simple, right? You can define your own logic. Your engagement indicators can change, your weightage can change, but it's a simple maths calculation that you have to do and write a logic to get the member engagement score, right? Defining these steps, right? Now, once you are done with that score, it's always good to categorize your members in different categories, right? You want to know which members are more active, which are less active, which are contributing, which are who are not contributing, right? So you can define them based on their engagement score into different categories. Here we have defined 5 categories which we think you should use to differentiate your members depending on their level of member engagement activity. So at the top, we have defined a leader. Leader is someone who has got a percentile score greater than 85. So what do we mean by having a percentile score? Percentile score greater than 85 means that he's contributing 85% more than the others, right? So whatever the total maximum value is, he's on top of that. So we mark him as a leader because obviously he leads the member engagement board, and you can pick up leaders in your association management system. Similarly, we have contributor. Contributor is someone who is doing 50% more than what others are doing in the system. So percentile greater than 50 puts him under a contributor level. Similarly, connector, a percentile score that is greater than 35 comes in the connector role. And then you have participant, who has a percentile score of greater than 15. And to be a user, you must have something greater than 0, right? That means you are contributing, at least contributing something, right? And then there will be some members who do not fall on either of these 5 categories, right? That means their contribution is equal to 0, right? So you will know that these are the members who are not contributing anything in your system. Neither they are doing any donations, neither they are volunteering for any camps, neither they are actually sharing any post or becoming a member or doing any kind of member engagement activity that you have given them, right? So that should ring an alarm bell that you should focus on such members because they are the ones who are very less connected to your system or your association and will be the first ones who will not uh, contribute and who will be the first ones to leave the system as soon as their membership expires, right? So a leader will be someone whom you can put your back upon and say like, this is the leader and he's engaged, so yeah, I can bet upon him. He's the one who is going to renew, and I don't have to put much effort into it. So as the ladder goes down, the more you have to engage with those kind of members and see like where are we lacking and why are they not contributing towards member engagement activities. So if you take an example of a user who just has a score greater than 0, your team can actually approach those members and try to understand what are we doing wrong in our system. Are we not providing them the right kind of content? Are we not providing them sufficient postings which are relevant to them? So what is wrong that is they are not connected to your system, right? So you can boost them up, right? So that they climb the ladder, at least become a participant or a connector. And similarly, a contributor should become a leader, right? So you have to push at all the levels, right? For a user, you have to push to a participant level. For a participant, you have to pull them to a connector level. So just determine what factors are stopping them for contribution, right? Once you identify those factors, it would be easy to push them to the next level, right? And if your leader pipeline is very strong, you can easily understand that you have a lot of happy members who are happy with your association, who are happy with your system. So it gives you an overall efficiency of your association as a whole, right? The more leaders, the more contributors you have, the more robust your system is, the more happy your members are. Now, once we have done that scoring, how do we actually use that scoring to pull out some reports which we can analyze, right? So once you have done that scoring, you can easily get something, a dashboard like this. Now, if you see total contacts, total engaged contacts, it says 4335, and total contacts are 5288. So what does that mean? It means that out of 5,288 contacts that you have in your association, there are 4,335 contacts who are engaged, who are doing some kind of activity into your system, who are actually either users, participants, contributors, or leaders, right? And then rest of them, they are not contributing anything into your system, right? So your focus should be on the remaining ones which are left out. Similarly, you can understand like how many contacts have engaged in the past 6 months. So it says 2536, right? Which gives you a figure that last 6 months data is that, and you can have more things into it. You can have, like we have newly engaged contacts this month, right? So there were 19 contacts who actually started engaging this month, right? So you can pull different reports. You can have contacts engaged in the past 1 year. You can have contacts engaged in the past 3 months, right? And there is the average score, right? So average score is 28. And then you can have engagement by category, right? So as we defined in our previous slides, we have 5 categories. We have users who have a percentile score of greater than 0. They are doing something, but very less. Participants similarly have a percentile score of greater than 15, and connector greater than 35, contributor greater than 50, and leader greater than 85. So if you see this funnel engagement by category, you can easily see there are only 440 leaders, right? Which is good, right? Because leaders would be less in your association. Then contributors are 775, connectors are 1264, participants are 257, and then most of them are users, right? So who are engaged in member engagement activities, but not very active. And what are the, and then you can always drill down and see like which are the users, which members are the users, which members are the participants. So you can get the details of who are the users, who are participants, who are connectors, who are contributors, and who are leaders. So this gives you a very holistic view of what is your system doing, right? Are your members engaged or your members not engaged, right? So this dashboard, if you can see, you will get the exact picture of what is happening in your system, right? A score of 0 as a leader is very alarming, right? broader the funnel is at the down, the better your system is, right? So you should have more leaders, more contributors, more connectors, right? And very less people who are 0% engaged. So this data has come because we are actually scoring for every member, right? So we pointed out on this slide, right? So you give weightage. This is how you calculate scores. These scores get stored in your database system. And once they are stored, you can define different categories based on the involvement of your members in different activities. And based on the data, you can pull out these dashboards, right? And then you can have engagement by month. So if you see this chart, right, you can see that December 2015 was the month where most of the members got engaged, right? And then you had a lean period from January 2016 to May 2016. So as an association member or an association owner, you can see what happened between January to May, that the members were not engaged. Were there not enough member engagement activities that were happening? Were there no events happening? Right? Were the members not sharing any posts? So all these engagement indicators, right? They will let you know what type of engagement your members have with your association. Then we can have dashboards which tell you your engaged contacts based on your membership type. So here you can see that most of the engaged contacts are regular members, right? Which is 1887. Then your non-members are 1650 who are engaged, right? The least is your retired members. Now, this gives you a picture on why the retired members are not engaged. Is this something that we are doing wrong for our retired members? Then student members are also 7, right? So the system is not apt and is not able to take care of basically 2 groups or maybe 3 groups, we can say: applicants, retired members, and student members. Okay, and then maybe you can determine what strategy you should make, or maybe you should talk to them, right? You should try to approach all your retired members, student members, and applicants and see like what is stopping them from engaging with activities. Are we not providing the right amount of content for them? Or are we not providing enough courses for these students or exams for these students so that they're not associated? Or it's maybe that retired members are not finding our system ethical. Why are they not loyal to it, right? And then we should also understand why the regular members are doing better, right? So it has to be both ways. We should determine what we are doing good, what we are not doing good, right? And this kind of dashboards will give you the exact picture of your engagement report. Now, we've already talked about member engagement. We have talked about the different dashboards. We have determined engagement scoring. Now, what benefits do we get out of doing all this member engagement stuff and doing all this scoring? Because it's actually an overhead for us, right? You have to do scoring, you have to store data in your system, you have to pull all these kind of dashboards. Now, one of the things that you may have realized is to enhance your member engagement, right? You should do member engagement activities because it will actually help you members engage with your system, engage with your association, and maybe engage with your cause, right? And then, as I told you, based on your member engagement, you can define different marketing strategies. So depending on which members are engaged, which groups are not engaged, we can determine what strategies we need to put in place so that we have more member engagement. Similarly, with all these analytics in place, you can define the trends, right? You can define what is working, what is not working, right? So maybe if more students what are they looking for? Are they looking for jobs, or are they looking for career options, or are they looking for some courses which we can provide so that they get better engaged? So you can do a kind of strategic planning if you have got the trends in place through analytics. And Once you've got those trends, right, you can align your objectives based on your marketing strategies, based on the data that you have received, on which direction we should go, right? What is the right direction that we have? And I think this activity should happen every quarter where we see the trends, we define our marketing strategies, and we align our objectives so that we can measure impact, right? And then once we have run a campaign, you see what has worked and what has not worked. So maybe you run a campaign and see like how many members get engaged with that campaign. So, and you can get that result by using these kind of dashboards. So you can have how many contacts got engaged with that campaign, what was their score like, right? So that will give you an exact uh, success rate of whatever activity that you are putting in for your members. So it's very important to determine what is working for your system, what is not working for your system, which strategy is working, which strategy is not working. Because unless you have a measurement criteria for what is happening in your system, you cannot just plan for the future, right? You cannot just plan for your members. So members also want that you care for them, right? You are concerned for them, and how you can show that care and concern for your members. You can only show your care and concern for the members if you try to understand them, you try to understand what they want, how they want it, what is working for them, and what is not working for them, right? So, as an example, if you call one of your members who is not very active in your system, right, and you have all the data which shows you that, you can actually able to relate with him well, right? You can say that there are different campaigns that we are running, but you're not participating in it. There are different events that we organize. There are different committees that we have. So, what is the reason that you are not participating in those activities? So, at least he will understand that you care for him, right? He understands that he's not a mere member, but there is something that you are trying to do to make him engaged with the system, right? So that personal care and attention will only come if you have that kind of data in your system, through which you can plan your strategies, through which you can actually analyze what is working and what your member is liking, what your member is not liking. Because if you don't engage with your members, right, they tend to leave the system, they tend to leave the organization. So it's always good to have this member engagement dashboards, which can help you guide through the future. So this is what we wanted to discuss in this webinar. And I think we can have more sessions on this, but this was very basic where we wanted to tell you the importance of member engagement, try to portray you like what engagement dashboards you can build. And these dashboards are really easy to make, right? Once, if you have your own development team who is actually handling your association management system, these dashboards come very handy. You just need to capture data based on engagement indicators. But the first activity that you should do to engage your members is define the engagement indicators. This is the first and foremost activity that you should do. And that should come from the business team as well as the development team that you have, that you both should sit and you should determine what are the engagement indicators that I want for my members, right? So once you have determined the engagement indicators, try to give it a score, right? It can be anything. So you can have more weightage on something you want to stress upon, right? So here we have seen that we are giving a weightage of 10 on committee participation, right? But you can say that, no, I want to give a weightage of 10 on event attendance, right? I want to give a 5 on community posts, right? So this weightage can vary depending on your requirements, right? So this is an example. And then once you have defined your weightage and you have defined your indicators, it's easy to calculate. You just have to write a simple logic which will keep on accumulating points for your members, right? And you can show these points to your members, right? You can give batches to them, right? You can give leader batch to the category of leaders. You can give different gifts to them depending on their member engagement, and they will feel privileged, right? So based on that, you determine different categories, and these categories can also differ, right? We have just given a name to them, right? You can have different batch names to them, right? So, and you can recognize your leaders, you can recognize your contributors, maybe send them a thank you card, or maybe send them some coupons which they can use, maybe Starbucks coupons, right? Or send them a T-shirt with your association logo, right? Just to show appreciation about their engagement, and that you can only do once you have this kind of categories defined, and for those categories you need to have your scoring defined. And once you have done that, I think you can have, so these are just two examples of dashboards. You can have n number of things that you can see in your system. You can determine who are the leaders, you can determine who are not engaged in, right? And maybe your management can decide like what marketing strategy we should make to engage more members, because here you can see it's more than 90% engagement for your members. Out of 5288, 4335 are engaged, right? So it means 90% success for your system. And you can just define your successes based on these dashboards. So these are easy to make, and it's very simple. It's just that framework has to be set right. Your steps have to be mapped. So these dashboards cannot come if you don't follow these steps that I have told you, right? You have to have engagement indicators. You need to define weightage. You need to write a logic to accumulate those points. You need to define categories, and then you can have these kind of dashboards and reports, which is very easy to make. Okay, so this is what we have for today's webinar. We'll be holding more sessions on it. And if there are any questions you want to pose, I've got a couple of questions on my question and answers chat. Let me see what these are. Okay, so I think one of the questions is, can you define engagement? Right. So engagement is basically engaging with your members, right? As I told you initially, engagement is something where you proactively define activities for your members so that they engage with you, right? It can be a community post, which is of their interest and they share it. It can be a course content that you provide them and they find it very useful and then they share it with others. It can be a campaign that you are running for some noble cause and they like it and they participate in it. It can be a certain committee that you are forming for a certain cause and they want to be a part of the committee member. So it is a proactive way of engaging with your members, right? So engagement is proactive way of engaging with your members. That is what engagement is here, I mean. So someone has asked, will a recording of this webinar be available? Yes, a recording of this webinar will be available for all the attendees and you will get this slides as well. Then there is one more question, right? So someone has asked about we have a question from David Church. What do you think about multidimensional scoring, such as having more than one scale, depending on the engagement types? Right? We can have multidimensional scoring as well, depending on the scale of the engagement. But what I would suggest is, if you can start with a single dimensional scoring first and work on that logic, and then maybe work on multiple dimension scoring, that would be better. Because what initial single dimensional scoring will give you is try to make you better strategy and define more dimensions for scoring, right? So you may determine more indicators that you need to put in your system, or maybe more engagement types you should do, right? So it's all depends, right? If you want to do multi-dimensional scoring, you can do that, but make sure that you define the following steps, right? Have engagement indicators, give a weightage to these dimensions that you're talking about, and then define the categories, right? So the steps remain the same. And one more question. Do you suggest weighing more heavily if the committee is important, such as the organization goal? Yes. So it actually depends upon your weightage indicators, on what indicators you want to give more weightage, right? Like I defined, like we have given more weightage to committee. So let me go to that slide. So these are the weighing indicators, right? They can vary, right? So it depends on which weightage indicator you want to give to what members, right? So if volunteer attendance is more important to you, you can give it a weight score of 10, right? So this order can be depending on what type of indicators you want to stress on more, what indicators you want to stress upon less. And these strategies can change with time, right? You can have weighted scale change with time, and that will improve or maybe have changes in your scoring, and you can have different categories of leaders and everything. I think we have more questions, right? So someone has asked, can you suggest where to track member engagement? We have patron manager via Salesforce, but not sure how to incorporate that in the system. So member engagement should always be tracked in the system itself. It should never be tracked on Excel or Google Sheets, because that would be an overhead on you, right? You need to define all your scoring and all your member engagement within the system that you're using. Now, if it is integrated with Salesforce, that's fine. You can have your integration with Salesforce, but everything should be there within the system. Nothing, because if you don't have that within the system, you can never have these kind of dashboards that I'm talking about, right? You will be with Google Sheets and Excel, you can never have these dashboards in the system. So always track your member engagement within the system. Whatever activities that you're doing for member engagement, you should have that in the system, and you should do all your scoring in the system itself. Is engagement a proxy for member satisfaction? Example, if a member does not post much in community, that signals that it is not meeting their needs, or how do you incorporate satisfaction effectiveness? Yes, so engagement, the more engagement your members have is directly proportional to your member satisfaction. So if your members are not engaged with your system, your member engagement scoring would be less. So every time your members are engaged with your system, the more member satisfaction they have. See, it's very simple, right? The more volunteer they will do with your system, the more activities they would, the more time they would spend on your system. That means they are satisfied. If they don't have any interest in your system, they will not actually open your system, do any activities, because they don't like it, right? They are just waiting that the subscription should go, and they are very in a very reactive mode. So you have to have engagement with them, understand them, and yes, engagement is a proxy for member satisfaction. I strongly agree to that. The more your members are engaged with you, the more satisfaction you have with them. We have another question which says, does your platform integrate with EMS systems such as Contiva? So you can have your member engagement dashboards within Contiva only. Okay. So we don't have any separate platform for membership scoring. So if you have Contiva, or you have Nimble, right, or you have Salsa, right, our team can actually help you build member engagement dashboards within the AMS system. So you don't need to integrate any other system for your member engagement dashboards. Our team has done that for various clients globally, right, within the AMS system. So you don't need to integrate anything to have member engagement dashboards or to have member engagement scoring. Everything can be built within the AMS system. It's a piece of logic that has to be written within the AMS system, and all your dashboards and engagement dashboards can be built within the within Fontiva or within Nimble. So you don't have to integrate anything else. It's very simple. You have to follow the following steps. You have to have this data in your AMS system, and that's it, and nothing else you have to do. So I think we are, let me just check if you have any other more questions. I think we are done with all the questions, but these are all good questions, right? Very apt. And if you have any further questions, right, please feel free to mail us at wecare@aplusify.com. Aplusify is actually a Salesforce registered consulting partner, and we have helped a lot of global clients build these engagement dashboards within the AMS system. I'm again repeating, you don't need to have a separate system for it. This can easily be built within your AMS system. You just need to put in certain logic in the steps that I have identified for you, and we can take care of it. And for any other further guidance, you can mail us at pcare@aplusify.com, or you can call us at 888-683-8281. So this webinar recording will be available for every one of you, and you will have these slides as well. So you can have a look, and feel free to mail us or call us for any further questions or guidance you may need in terms of member engagement dashboards and tracking of it. It's an easy process. You don't need a separate system again, and everything can be done within the same system with a simple scoring mechanism. So I think this webinar might have proved useful for all of you, and thank you for attending this webinar, and thank you for listening to me. Have a great day ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye.